This drip all on my body, soaking wet the Sani. Looking like a walking liquor, you can tell I'm grinding. Rolling back was full of loud, I can't hear nobody.
What's up, fuckers? Episode 14, the Beer Latte Show. I'm Steve.
I'm Nick.
Danielle.
And today is brought to you by Twin Lights Brewing out of New Jersey. And we have two beers. We're going to start with their lager today. 4.8% alcohol. Smells light. Looks light in color.
It is light.
That is a light, refreshing beer.
Yeah, light and crisp.
At first, when I read lager, I kind of was thinking like Yingling off the bat, which is a little heavier tasting. But this is really good. This is, like you said, it's light and refreshing, like a great all-around, like just a crushable beer. Like a really crushable beer.
I'm getting a little fruity hint from it, though.
Yeah?
Slightly.
Like on the first taste.
Not me.
I am. It's just like
As the queen fruit citrusy flavor taster over there,
Yeah.
she has no fruit.
Nope. I like it. I could drink this.
Now that's a real crushable beer. That's like sit down with your boys, like just pound beers around a fire.
yeah.
And girls.
And your girls, crush beers with your boys and girls. Fucking it's a party.
Yeah, very, very smooth. Yeah, it's a good time.
All right. You know what time it is.
Hops rating.
45 sips, hop rating test. 1 to 10, Danielle, where are you at? As a lager, not as a dark beer.
I know. Okay. So I'm at a 6.
You sure?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
No, she's at a 6. That's not bad.
Yeah. No, it's a good one.
Nick, what are you thinking?
I like how easy it is. I don't know. It's just like it's easy to drink.
I'm on your side on that one.
I'm gonna probably go for a lager. This is like a 7.6. This is just delicious and it's easy.
I agree. However, you might think I'm fucking crazy. I'm going 8-1.
Okay.
8-1 because it's a fucking really crushable lager, really easy to drink, and I love it. It's like refreshing as shit.
So if that's how we rate things, easy to drink, then I would go 9 because it's super easy to drink.
I was basing it towards lagers.
Okay.
So me as a lager, fucking 8-1, delicious, crushable, fucking delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's definitely
It's
good.
certified fucking delicious.
Yeah, it's certified fucking delicious.
CFD.
And then their other beer, just released the other day as we're trying this, it is what they're calling the Double Vision, which is a double dry hopped IPA, 6.5%. Glass looking nice and hazy.
Strong scent coming off of it.
That's fruity.
Yeah.
But fuck me, that's good.
Yeah, I'd say it is a strong scent, but I'm always smelling citrus. I'm always smelling grapefruit or something.
It's definitely citrusy. I'm not sure if it's grapefruit.
But I like it. I like it a lot.
That's also fucking delicious.
Yeah, I almost think this is crushable too.
It is.
To me, it's also
Especially as like a 6.5%, like it's really fucking easy to drink.
I think for an IPA, that's also smooth and easy.
It's super smooth. This is like well fucking done, these guys.
I don't think it kills you. It's killing you at all with the hops or anything.
Not at all. And this is crazy because this is their first and only 2 beers they've ever made. They just started this year, and these are fucking amazing beers.
Yeah, I could crush either of these whenever.
They got a natural talent.
Danielle, based off a IPA, what are you rating it?
I'm going to go at 7.5 actually.
7.5
Yeah.
hops.
7.5 hops for me.
Wow, that's pretty high for you.
Yeah, because I don't know. I feel like every other time I'm tasting those kind of beers, I really like them.
They're
But this one
they're
I like.
hoppier, this is more like smoother.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely smooth.
Nick, where you at?
I was gonna be about the same. I was probably gonna be about, or I guess I am around 7.3.
Oh, okay. This is gonna be my highest thus far IPA rating at an 8.3.
Wow.
Like it's fucking, I'm telling you, like it's so fucking smooth. I'm actually like blown away.
Awesome.
Dude, yeah, I also agree. This is a really smooth IPA.
You know,
Wait,
and
is it CFD?
certified fucking delicious?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All
I
right.
mentioned that, you missed it. It's fucking delicious.
Yeah, I
Both.
know, but you didn't say certified.
Yeah, well now it's
Yeah, you
certified.
got
Now it's fucking
certified.
stamp of approval. Steve certified fucking delicious.
Right.
Damn.
Okay. All right.
Only
Yeah.
2 beers in the company, and they're both certified fucking delicious.
Certified
Right.
fucking delicious.
Wow. They go on the top shelf.
No, and I met the 2 owners the other day, and they are interested in doing a podcast. And we had some stupid fucking ideas kind of going by. One of them was if we just wore coats and did the podcast from inside the cooler while crushing beers.
Coats.
I could do that.
Like puffy jackets.
Oh yeah, because you're going inside the cooler.
All right.
Yeah.
Like it's, I
You're
don't know,
gonna be-
36 degrees or something.
Right,
in the
right. No,
cooler.
I've been in a cooler before.
Yeah, you're gonna be refrigerated for the
Right.
hour that we do it.
Wow. That's a cold podcast.
And live feed it.
Cold.
Maybe during the summer, that'd be amazing.
We're going to live feed. I mean, this might happen. I don't know if it's 100%, but it's roughly like 102% going to happen.
Give or take.
It went from maybe to 102%.
Right. So, give or take, but I'm about 102% positive that this is going to happen. We're going to live feed a fucking podcast from the cooler while crushing these beers.
All right.
That'd actually be a great time because these are fucking delicious.
Right. These
Yeah,
are fucking
certified
delicious.
fucking delicious.
We'll live feed it. We'll have both owners there, live feeding on their Facebooks or whatever, and we'll just answer questions and just have a fucking drunk time in the cooler. Just because it'd be so obnoxiously dumb and hilarious.
Yeah, it would be. I like it.
I'm on board.
And that is Twin Lights Brewing. You can find them at Twin Lights Brewing on Instagram or twinlightsbrewing.com. And today we're with Jesse Lewis. Jesse, how are you?
I'm pretty fantastic, honestly.
Oh, that's
good.
great.
That's a good start.
That is better than most people ever say. They're saying, I'm good.
They suck, right? So it's me. I'm fantastic. I'm literally the greatest thing ever.
Wow.
See? That's the
believe
energy.
it.
That's the energy.
Yeah.
I already believe it.
That's the energy we need.
I can't see you, but I believe you.
I already like you.
I'm going to take this for a weird turn right off the bat. Jesse, would you rather be visited by an alien or a ghost?
Well, I've already been visited by one, so the other wouldn't matter. Or the other one would be the same difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And now you piqued my interest.
Yeah, now we gotta know the story.
Yes. Do tell.
Okay, so it does include mushrooms, so that probably doesn't help. But
All
my
stories
grandpa
should.
died when I
Or
was
it
younger.
might help a lot. Maybe we all should get on the same wagon right now.
All stories should begin. I was on mushrooms.
Now, whether you discount it as real or not, when I was about 16, my grandpa died, and I was an idiot. And at that point in my life, I drank a lot and I did some illicit drugs and stuff, such as mushrooms. And well, I got high on mushrooms, and the 2 days after my grandpa died, he appeared to me, and I actually had coffee with my grandpa. Now, whether it was just a really, really good trip or whether it was real, I don't know. But I choose to believe it was real.
Well,
Did he say anything extremely intense?
yeah, did you guys have a good conversation?
Yeah.
No, we literally just sat there and drank tea at his old armchair,
No
which was
talking?
weird. No, just sat there.
You were tripping.
Okay.
No, I feel like you're not, because I feel like if you had an in-depth conversation about like some like crazy scenario, then you're tripping. But I feel like a ghost isn't gonna have that much of a conversation. He's just gonna want to hang out.
It was just me and Grandpa sitting there, just relaxing, like I did when I was 4 years old, helping him fix things. It was really weird.
So were you tripping with others or just by yourself?
No, it was just by myself.
That's interesting. But except for with Grandpa.
Well, it could have been induced by sorrow and stuff, and I'm sure we'll get into that with what we're going to talk about. But yeah, it just could be my mind playing tricks on me. It could have happened without mushrooms. Who knows?
So how real did it seem to you though? Did it seem like a dream state, or have you ever tripped prior or after?
So actually, I've never done mushrooms ever again, just simply because of it.
Okay.
And it felt, when I remember this, it's a full-blown memory. It is not like a hallucination, if that makes sense. It's not like I was meditating or something. It's full-blown there. I can see the hairs on his arm close up. It's really strange in my memory.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, sadly, I did a lot of trips in my lifetime, all of which I can have as a memory. But that is awesome, though. I've never actually spoken to somebody else. Yeah. That's awesome. I like it.
It is what it is. It's a strange story that it happened, so why not let people know, right? There's a lot of strange stories we could tell. Yeah.
Now, you chose not to try it again just because you were like scared of what happened? Or I'm asking because I've never done it, and I don't know why, but lately I've been super curious.
So that same trip lasted for a long time. And by the end of it, I had to be in the hospital. So I chose never to ever do mushrooms again.
Oh my God, that's the
Now you're
worst
ruining
thing.
it for me.
That's the worst thing they can do to somebody that's tripping.
Yeah, it went too far.
Wow.
Wait, so you're saying it went for a long time. So what happened after coffee?
So after that, from what I remember, I literally started walking. I walked about 12 miles, and yeah, I blacked out quite often, to be honest, and just normal trip stuff where everything's literally, well, if you've ever tripped, it's hard to explain for everybody because not everybody does it the same, right? Not everybody has the full-blown hallucinations. Not everybody has things like walls melting or
Yeah.
animals talking to them.
It's like things are
So-
breathing and everything's alive in
Yeah.
some way or form.
Yeah, and it really depends on what you're doing too, right?
Right.
So to explain physically, I can tell you the path I took. I took the path to town, then I went to my sister's, and I passed out and I started throwing up, and then they took me to the hospital. So yeah, however long it takes to walk 12 miles, I don't know, probably 3-4 hours. And then, yeah, it was just strange at that point, if that makes sense. The only thing that I can actually remember clearly about the whole experience was Grandpa. I don't remember actually taking the mushrooms. I know I did because I was told I did. And then, yeah, just went on from there.
That makes it more believable that you did see Grandpa, being that you don't remember anything else.
Maybe it was just a connection with the ether. Who knows? It could be something. Maybe it was just him coming to have closure with me because I haven't seen him ever since. Whether it's a dream or anything, I don't dream about it. So really strange.
Yeah, I think that well, if you listen to anybody who's talked about tripping or anything, it's always more of a connection with the earth, more of a deep connection. And you must have had a deep connection with your grandfather, so perhaps he was present, and he was
maybe.
able to be present.
Maybe realistically, it gave me closure, and that's the most important part to me.
Okay,
So-
yeah, I was going to ask if it did give you closure.
It was a pretty sad time in my life, which most people, when you're doing mushrooms, it is. But yeah, it was a learning experience to say the least.
Oh, I like that. It was a good thing, ultimately.
Yeah.
If I walk 12 miles anywhere, they definitely know I was tripping. Something's wrong with that guy. He doesn't walk that far, ever.
On a path, no less. So what do you mean there's other crazy stories?
So what I do is I'm actually a professional stage hypnotist, and there's stories that I have from the shows I've done. There's stories that I've had as far as ghost stories and stuff like that. And you asked about aliens in the beginning. I don't have an alien story, but the ghost stories are fantastic from my childhood. My farm that I grew up on was actually a really haunted place, and we would regularly see things that didn't belong there out of the corner of our eyes and see weird things happening to us. And I wouldn't say that it was a bad haunting. I would say that it was actually, most of the stuff was very positive, almost very spiritual. And this was all growing up before the time I was even 16, 17 years old. When I was 4 or 5, I used to hear voices, and I remember these voices, and they'd tell me to do things. And I remember who they were as well. They were it sounds weird because it's a grown man talking about elves, but they literally said, we're the elves and we're in the forest. And they would tell me things, and they'd tell me where things were and certain things to do and what to do. And I was old enough to know at that point that these voices shouldn't exist. And if you know something shouldn't exist, then chances are it won't actually exist, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't think that they were not there. I think that they exist, maybe not necessarily in our dimension, but they existed, and somehow they were able to tap into my child mind.
What kind of things would they say for you to do and stuff?
They would generally tell me to fix things or put things in certain places. Sacrifice isn't the right word, but bring me this, bring me that. And yeah, I don't remember the things being there afterwards after a day or two. So whether they got carried away or my brother went and took them and put them somewhere else, I don't know.
Where would you be putting them? Like, where would they?
There was a little red tractor on my grandpa's farm where I grew up, and we had a horse, a bale corral. So there's like straw bales and stuff like that in there to feed the horses and cows. And generally they would tell me to take items and put them in that area. And then there was bush right beside it. So theoretically, if I'm not crazy, or wasn't at the time, then possibly maybe they were taking them into the bush.
That's pretty cool. Like, what kind of things?
Just weird stuff like costume jewelry from my grandma, or tin can lids was a really big one, which sounds nuts, but they wanted tin can lids and tin cans in general. Buttons, string, all the stuff you would imagine that weird elves living in the forest would want.
So they're like little bag lady elves, basically, wandering around the forest with like costume jewelry and like tin cans they could recycle. I
don't know if you've ever walked in the forest, but have you ever walked in the forest and felt things watching you?
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's kind of how it was. And I'm not saying they're real or not, but to the kid that I was, they were at the time.
So you would get that feeling like the hairs on the back of your neck would stand up, or like you get that feeling in your ears where there's somebody behind you kind of feeling?
Exactly that feeling. And
Yeah.
to this day, you go there and people get it. There's one part of my farm where I have a friend that went to China, to the temples in China for a long time. And when he goes to my grandpa's farm, he gets the same feeling that on the farm as he got in the temples in China, which is
Wow.
really strange. Yeah.
So like cathartic in a way.
Yeah. A healing place more than anything else.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It seems that any guest that has a farm always has ghosts there.
Yeah. No, and it's interesting. He said that peripherally they would see him too, because remember, who was it that? Oh,
It was
Terry Reid.
Terry Reid.
Yeah.
And so she was told this, then told us that, or explained that the paranormal part of, I guess your eyes are made of cones, and the paranormal spectrum that can see them is basically the corner of your eyes. So it's not necessarily that when you turn, they're gone. You just, it's possible that they're still there. You just can't see them because you're not using that part of your eye anymore.
Yeah, it's more of like a corner of your eye thing, like you're catching them peripherally, and that's the only way you can.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so that is very interesting.
And also scary because if it's like a bad thing, and like you look away, but they're still there, but you just can't see them anymore.
And for me, it would suck because I can't see out of my right eye at all, so I can only see.
Right, just pissing ghost off left and right. Why can't she see me?
I'm here.
You also have to consider that most of the ghost stories that you hear aren't good ghost stories. They're all, oh, they're haunting me. So how many of the good things are there versus what people are actually reporting?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's no different. Well, my assumptions, it's no different than like online reviews. Most people that have a good thing to say generally just don't. It's when
Yeah.
you're pissed off somewhere, you're like, I'm going to write this out there. I'm telling everybody.
People have to know.
Yeah. Yeah. My burger was half cooked or whatever the deal is.
I have a question because I've actually watched a few of your ditties on like YouTube, I think. I don't know where I was seeing it, but I saw some of your act and it's very intriguing. Now, are you like a licensed hypnotist or how does that work?
So I'm going to tell you a huge secret. There's no such thing as a certified hypnotist in North America currently.
Oh, okay.
As far as certification goes, yes, there are certain boards that have a better name than other places, but the US government and the Canadian government currently does not license hypnosis.
Do other countries?
Insane. England does in some areas, but not all. It's really up to the council in the local area. It's kind of like a regional college type thing. So there's people all over the country that can certify you for hypnosis, but that certification isn't worth the paper it's written on.
That is fascinating.
Well, you look at it, and massage therapy used to be the same thing. Anybody could be a masseuse, and well, not a masseuse. A massage therapist, because masseuse is a rub and tug. But sorry,
Is there a difference in the terminology for real? Or are you just joking?
Yeah, no, that's the terminology. If you're a masseuse, technically in Canada anyway, that they don't like the term masseuse. They want massage therapist because as soon as you put therapist behind something, it's a wording illusion, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it seems to have more meaning
Of
behind
course.
it.
Yeah.
Therapist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like a life coach. It's not actually anything, right?
Right.
Maybe it is.
Those are my favorite.
They are
all
a
these-
million, a dime a dozen now.
My favorite
Yeah, well-
are the, like under 30 or sometimes under 25. They're a life coach. I'm like, bitch, you didn't live life.
Right?
What are you coaching?
Well, a hypnosis certification is almost exactly the same thing as a life coach certification or a Reiki certification or whatever other certification. You're not actually certified by a real governing body. It's just the governing body who says that you're certified, if that makes sense. So,
Is it because it's like an unseen practice?
so the thing about hypnosis is it's almost completely unproven in scientific circles because psychology wanted a very scientific-based method, and specifically Freud, he wanted to have this method where he could make it work, and he wanted a method where he could do it again and again and again and prove it with everybody. But the problem is that hypnosis, everyone can be hypnotized, but it has to be a choice.
Right.
It really does. So if a person didn't want to be hypnotized, they could not be fixed at the time. Nowadays, hypnosis is starting to have a lot of studies go on about how it actually works. And the science behind trance in general and what it actually is. But at the very basis of it, it's just somebody following a suggestion. So if I asked you to clap your hands right now and you clapped your hands, technically you're hypnotized. It's kind of like the yes set in car sales, where the car salesman would say something and you'd say in your mind, yeah, that makes sense. And they'd say another thing, yeah, that makes sense. And you after you say yes about 9 times, automatically the next thing you say is yes, because you've got into what's called a yes set. And that's how people sell things to you that you don't actually want.
Steve, you would have been a better car salesman if you had known this practice.
I was too honest.
Yeah.
I love the car. Don't fucking buy it. This isn't the one for you.
So that's interesting. So, but as I was seeing, like, how do you get your audience members to agree to go up on stage? Or do you just randomly pick?
So for me, the big secret I wrote a book on it, but the big secret to hypnosis is you have to have the balls to go up there and say that you're a stage hypnotist. That's the big secret, because people have it in their mind already what a hypnotist is. Just like if you go to a concert, let's say you go to Van Halen and you go and they start playing somebody else's music, you're going to be angry.
Right.
If you go to a hypnotist and it turns out he's actually, I don't know, a magician, you're going to be angry. So just by the act of the person standing up there, saying they're a hypnotist, having the posters and stuff about the show and the media and everything else, and the proof of it, going up there, doing what's known as a hypnotic induction, which is basically just relaxation for most hypnotists, and there's faster ways to do it, and proving that you are what you are. That's how people go into hypnosis. It's just following people's own beliefs that they already have about what hypnosis is. The truth about hypnosis is we're hypnotized all the time, whether we believe it or not, by all the advertising and everything else, the government, and it's crazy.
I could see that for sure. It's whether we want to believe it or not.
Yeah. And it goes to religion and fashion and everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, once people start telling you what's in this season or whatever like that, we're like, oh yeah, we have to wear this.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
exactly.
Fuck, we're always hypnotized.
Well, yeah, that's the whole concept of the 80s movie, They Live, the one with the sunglasses.
What?
They're like aliens that have invaded Earth, but you can only see them with like this special sunglasses. But when you put them on, like all billboards turn to just like, it just says obey in big letters and
Didn't
like
see that
follow.
one, but that makes sense.
Yeah, well, it's the one, everyone knows the scene. It's like, I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick some ass, but I'm all out of bubblegum. Same movie.
I heard that one before.
Yeah, same movie.
No, I never heard it. Sorry.
So you're not on stage like swinging a little pendulum in front of people, or?
No.
I guess I can't be hypnotized.
I understand where that comes from, because back in the 40s and 50s, they actually used to do that. It's a valid practice and it does work. It's just that it's became so, that's what people believe hypnosis was back then. And now it's changed and morphed, just like any other medium. There was a very time when rock and roll was a very specific type of music, and now it's not anymore.
That's true.
Oh my God.
Hypnosis is kind of the same thing.
So when you're doing hypnosis for like your show, what are you trying to get people to do? Are you trying to do like a comedy act around it, or are you trying to actually help somebody do something? Or
so the answer is twofold in that, and you hit it right on the head. The comedy hypnosis show, it's the normal stuff, right? Drive a car, smell farts, watch a movie, jump on a unicorn, blah, 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 all that stuff, the comedy stuff. But there is the motivational aspect to it as well. I specifically do, throughout my show, it has a story, which is based on basically we're all good people and we all live the same life and we can all achieve whatever we want to if we choose to, but we have to make that choice. And it does have that motivational aspect to it, but it's not preachy like you're going to go out and achieve and lose 300 pounds or anything like that.
shit.
How about 50? That's really cool. So how'd you get into that?
My journey's bloody effing weird. I used to pump pig shit, for lack of a better term, into like fields for fertilizer. There's one for you.
All right.
And I was working about 400 hours a month.
There goes my question about what was your first job?
I know. But I was working about 400 hours a month and I was really, really stressed. So I got into hypnosis to relax. And that just led me down the path of learning stage hypnosis.
Oh, so where do you go to learn that? Like, do you have to be
you remember when I said there was no certification?
Right.
I had the balls to read a book
Oh,
Visit bars after reading that book. And I kept visiting bars until one booked me. I just kept bullshitting and saying, I'm a stage hypnotist. I'm a stage hypnotist. Book me. And eventually one did.
get the hell out of here. And then from there, it just worked.
That's it.
That's
Yep.
amazing and awesome and triumphant. I love that.
At 23, people are young and dumb, right? So
Or
it
smart.
worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that follows the whole like principle of like the answer is always no. You know, if you don't ask the question, so fuck it, might as well ask. What's the difference?
That's right. You never know what you're going to get out of life until you actually try to do something, right?
So I guess you didn't go out there and fail. You completely nailed it first time.
The funny thing about it is actually when I booked that show, I also booked a radio interview with the largest radio station in my province. So a state for you guys down there. And the day before my show, I actually went on statewide radio and I hypnotized somebody for the very first time.
Oh, shit.
Over the radio?
You didn't
Over
even
the
practice
radio.
on grandma or anybody?
Over the radio in studio. And the only thing I practiced on was, this is going to sound silly, but I had a whole bunch of teddy bears and I would hypnotize them probably about 500 times before I did it. Yeah,
What
it was
the
crazy.
hell? That's pretty cool.
Did the bear ever move?
Nowadays, there's better ways to do it. I'm not suggesting anybody picks up a book and tries that because there could have been some major issues, right? I didn't have insurance and all the rest of it at that point. So, yeah, it's probably best to go to a reputed trainer or at least read my book and get some good advice on how to do it.
Right, because in theory, let's say you go there, you actually hypnotize somebody, and then they're like stuck. And you're like, well, that's my act. See you guys later.
Yep.
Check, please.
She'll be a chicken for the rest of her life. Great.
Technically, nobody can get stuck in hypnosis. You just basically fall asleep. But yeah, it could be dangerous, right?
Oh, that's good to know.
You never know.
Oh, so you're in a state of like a hypnagogic state? Is that what you say?
So the proper word for it would be somnambulism in the hypnotic state. But realistically, even when you're hypnotized, you're never going to do anything that you truly don't want to do. For instance, you're not going to jump around naked if that's against your moral code, no matter how good the hypnotist is. The reason people do stuff like that on stage is because they can say that, well, the hypnotist made me do it. And they're not embarrassed because it was forced upon them, basically. But that's not true. People have a choice, no matter what. They can either choose to do it or not. And if you don't want to do it, they'll just come right out of hypnosis no matter what.
So it's kind of like being drunk and you're like losing your inhibitions because you're telling somebody to do something and they're like, well, he told me to do it. I'm going to do it.
Yep.
Otherwise.
Pretty much, but you still have a choice.
Yeah.
And you're fully, you have your faculties completely. You're not, you know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean so drunk where you don't have your faculties, but like when you're drinking and you're a little more relaxed, kind of.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a wonderful process, actually. It's very strange.
I wonder what my like no would be. I might get naked and dance. I don't know.
Would you? I think you would know by now in life.
I don't know. I never was put in that situation.
Yeah, no one's asked them to get naked and dance on stage.
Yeah, so I don't know that answer.
Most hypnotists will have a warning that you're going to follow the hypnotist moral code during the show, unless you're going to an R-rated one. I don't do R-rated shows. I swear when I'm doing these things, but all my shows are 100% clean because I work for mostly corporate people. So it's kept 100% clean all the time.
Yeah, that makes sense though.
Yeah. It's where the money's at.
Well, they're paying for what, like private party type deals, like for corporate companies.
So usually like conferences for if people are going on like an away trip to like a retreat or whatever, usually the management, let's be honest. And I do that type of event. I'll MC the whole event. I'll do the hypnosis show and then they pay me a lot of money. Or Christmas parties. That's a big one. I can't say Christmas, sorry. Holiday parties because HR people are listening. And it's true. It's true. There's HR hates that word. Has to be holidays.
Yeah, I know.
And yeah, Christmas parties anywhere from 75 people up to 2,500 people generally when I perform. So it's a pretty diverse group of people that I work with, and I work for high schools too. I do motivational stuff for them using the hypnosis and stuff.
So you've done as much as 2,500 people.
Yep. Vermilion Fair up here in Canada, we did 2,400 people that were in the stands, and I had 43 people on stage.
Jeez.
Jesus.
I'd be scared just to be there.
Right?
I'd have to hypnotize myself to be there.
43 people, even as an audience, would
Yeah,
was
43
scary.
people on stage. I'm like, oh, you know what? Change my mind.
You know what's weird? Every time I go out on stage, I'm scared shitless until the first 10 minutes. You get over it. And you do this, you could be in front of 1 million people with your podcast. Doesn't that scare you?
No.
I can't see them.
Yeah.
And right now we wish that we were.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm also
Me
naked.
too.
Yeah, I guess they always say that, like, let's say before like a sporting event, like the pros get nervous. They can't say they don't. And that's because, like they're doing the right thing, let's say. Like it's a nervous energy because it's not so much nervous as much as it's truly excitement.
Yeah.
Because you're wanting to do it, you're ready for it, though it feels like you're nervous. That's what I heard people say. I don't know.
The fight or flight response kicks in, I think.
Yeah, basically.
I know my part would be the flight.
Where'd she go? I don't know.
She didn't fight.
The most exhilarating thing about going on stage, realistically, the most exhilarating thing is you go out there and, in my mind anyway, that audience is against me. They want me to fail. And I prove them wrong every freaking time. So it's an ego thing kind of, but that's what every performer does, really. They go out there and they prove the audience that I'm worth being up here.
It's like the Rocky response.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I imagine worse for you because most people are probably like, I'll go, but it's bullshit anyway.
Yeah. Fair enough.
You don't think so, Daniel?
I don't know. No, because like if I'm going to see a performer, I'm already in. I'm already vested.
Yeah, but some people, there's some hypocrites that are so hypocritical. They just want to go and be like, look, I saw that sleight of hand the magician did. Like, that's not that good of a trick. They just want to be the better person than the one that's on stage.
Yeah, I can
specifically because they feel bad about themselves at home, but that's just a whole side part.
I don't know. I saw John Edwards and I wanted to see him I don't know. I just wanted to see him succeed. Mostly because I wanted to be red, but it didn't happen.
Well, you're the nice one in that situation.
Thank you.
So the question is about John Edwards. Are you a skeptic then? Or are you a believer?
I guess we're all skeptics, right? But I want to be a believer. Does that make sense?
Okay. Have you guys studied mentalism and magic and the shut-eye stuff about why it's not true or why it is true?
No, you have any insight?
I wrote a book called Cold Reading, easy to do cold reading. And it basically talks about how, here's the basic process of how all that stuff works. I'm going to go behind the curtain and destroy every psychic you ever talk to from this point forward. I do tarot card readings. I do psychic readings. I do seances and all that stuff, or I have in the past. And the fact of the matter is that there are experiences that happen during the event that I can't explain. Now, if they're real or not, that's up to people to decide. But how the basic psychic works is, how much different are you guys than any other man on the street right now?
Not much.
Realistically in your life. Okay. So you take let's say between a 14-year-old and 17-year-old girl. There's 3 things I can guarantee have happened in the last 3 years to that girl. Okay. We all live almost exactly the same life. I'm not going to say what those 3 things are, but same with a 45-year-old man, same with a 35-year-old man. Right now, if you look at most 35-year-old men, they're having problems in their relationship. They have money problems and they want to travel somewhere. Most 35-year-old men. And that's how psychic readings work. It takes the 80% of us that's the same and transfers it to absolutely everybody. And there's a thing called confirmation bias. So if I guess right that you're having erectile dysfunction because you're 55 years old and that's what happens, and it's confirmed in your mind, then you think that reading was about you when it's not, when it's really about every 55-year-old man.
Interesting. Or you make it happen because now he's thinking, shit. Yeah, I was just told
that's
ED.
exactly it. Yeah, and that's exactly what happens. You in hypnosis, it's called future pacing, where you can say something's going to happen and then it does, and it confirms it again.
Man, this is interesting.
Like you talk about John Edwards, what he's talking to dead people. Well, okay, good. He says, is there somebody with a Gary that's close to them? And how many people know somebody named Gary?
Right.
Almost everyone. So or there's a G name. I'm getting a Greg, a Gary. Is that right? And one of those names will be right, or Bob or Sally or whatever the 100 most used names are. And somebody, of course, is going to say, oh yeah, my grandma Marie. And then he says he's talking to them and they're dead. And he's really not. I'm a mean person.
No, I get it. But there's some things, like you just said, there's some things that just can't be kind of
Yes.
explained.
She's a real believer, it seems.
No, I mean, I know like Teresa Caputo probably like doesn't. Do you know who that is? The Long Island.
I do.
Oh, okay. I didn't know how far of a reach she had, but like I don't know that she's getting it dead on anything. I know there's editing and I know there's all that, but there's certain things that, I mean, these people are crying. Like she knows some shit.
Okay, but are your grandparents alive?
No.
Okay, so did you know your grandparents?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, can you remember a time? It seems I'm getting a message about a time that you were sitting with your grandmother. I can almost get the sense of the color yellow. What can you tell me about that?
No, nothing about the color yellow.
Okay, so whatever it was, that's how they do it though. They will ask a question and get you to confirm it, just like the yes set. And if they're wrong, they'll just move on to the next thing.
Yeah, we did see something like that. Remember that lady? She was like,
Oh, that one on TV. She's like, oh, you'll remember it later.
yeah, to
She has
almost
something-
everybody.
Yeah, the person's like, no, I remember that.
Exactly.
You'll think about it later.
Yeah.
So,
Like, okay.
so my big thing is just like the thing I talked about with my grandpa. It can be a very healing experience to go through something like that. However, it's when psychics prey on people that pisses me off more than anything else. I'm okay with doing tarot card readings and guiding people to help them out in their lives. I'm okay with the people themselves making a spiritual connection in some way. For instance, a meditation where you get to see a loved one again and get some closure, which hypnosis can do. Even a psychic meditation where that happens. What I'm not okay with is people like Sylvia Brown trying to help the police, because that's bullshit. You're not going to find a dead body. No psychic has ever found a dead body. And for your listeners and for your other guests, I'm sorry, but that's just, it's being a fucking cunt. For lack of a better term, I'm sorry. You're preying on people.
Yeah, no, I've seen some disapproval of Sylvia Brown, and one in particular case that really pissed me off.
Yeah. We live in a shitty enough world as it is. Don't put more shit out there.
Right. Yeah.
So I apologize for swearing, guys.
No, hey, you're passionate. I like it.
See, my wife believes in mediums, though.
Yeah. I think.
And I, on like the very first podcast we ever did, or second, I think it was the first one, we talked about them. And I said, I would go visit one.
Mm-hmm.
I just have a hard time believing them.
Well, we did visit one.
No,
During a group
that.
thing.
Yeah, that was because you dragged me in that shit too.
So here's
But
the
I just
thing.
can't see they're going to find anything out though. Because like he's saying, you're gonna, try to beat around the bush until like, I guess it works for people that want it to work.
Yeah.
It's what it comes down to.
Same as hypnosis.
Exactly. And everything goes back to hypnosis, literally everything. But with the mediums, I'm not saying that every one of them is a fraud, but a large majority of them are, if that makes sense. I don't think if you could talk to the dead that great grandma or Cleopatra is coming through. I don't believe in that, if that makes sense, or a Roman guard or whatever it is. I think that everything is hypnosis. You believe what you want to believe, and by confirming that, it just deepens your belief and deepens that programming in your mind that it could actually exist, which it very well could. We don't know what kind of dimensional gateway we have in this world or whatever.
Well, that brings me to my next question. Now that you just mentioned it, do you believe that there's, or have you been privy to like past life regression? Do you believe in any of that?
So the answer to that is yes. I believe that it exists. And I want to clarify on the medium stuff. Here's the thing. Why would great grandma visit the medium and not visit you?
Right.
Okay. That's my thing there. As far as the hypnosis and the past life regression, yeah, I believe it's there for some people, not necessarily for everybody, but that could also be made up. There's ways to create memories in people that didn't actually happen. So it could go both ways. both yes and no. And I can't really take a stance on fully saying that it does exist, but I've seen some very interesting things happen when people let go of what they consider a past life that's real to them, and they let go of a trauma, and they're able to move forward in this life.
Right. Yeah.
It's a weird way to explain it, but yeah.
No, it's helpful. It's beneficial.
As long as people are helping each other, that's the biggest thing, right? It's to not hurt anybody else while you're doing all this stuff, or pretending to be something that you're not.
Probably so many frauds out there preying on you, Danielle.
Preying on me. I've only ever seen one psychic in my life, and that was with you.
It's because you want to go see more, though.
Hey, I'd love to see Tyler Henry. I'm just putting that out there to our 5 listeners.
he's listening.
Yeah, he's one of them.
If you haven't had her on, June Ahern, I actually had her on my podcast yesterday, and she might be a good catch for you guys. She does a ghost investigation / psychic stuff for years and years and years.
Really? Oh, I'm going to write her name down. How do you spell it?
June
Well, yeah.
Ahern.
Perfect.
And she's got a TV show out right now too, so she'd probably want to come on. And she's actually pretty interesting. She does the psychic readings, and I'm okay with talking about absolutely anything on my show. And I thank you guys for having me on to talk about anything on yours.
You are welcome, and thank you.
So then how do you feel about aliens? Do you believe they're
Aliens?
true, really, or real, rather?
Okay, so how many stars?
That's a deep thought.
No, it really goes back to numbers. 100% numbers. How many stars are in the sky?
Yes.
More than 3.
It would be statistically impossible with how many stars we know now that there's not alien life somewhere.
Right.
And whether that's a microbe or a full-blown gray alien, I don't know.
Right.
The possibility is there that any ghosts we see aren't even ghosts. They could be full-blown aliens that we are able to see from another dimension.
Yes.
So what do you consider alien? Something that's just not of this world, or something that's from another dimension or another universe, or what path you want to go down?
Interesting.
No, I mean, it all makes sense.
Well, that's what I say. I say you would be ignorant. I said it in the past podcast. You'd be ignorant to think that we're the only things out there. It just doesn't make sense.
I love that you got that wording from me. But
Well,
yeah,
I said that in the past.
It's totally
Excuse me
true.
when I beat my wife. Hold on.
I'm only laughing because it's true. No, I'm kidding.
Laugh the pain away.
Just kidding. Out there.
It's got real
Please.
awkward. Okay, edit that out.
No. But yeah.
Well, yeah, believing that it's believing if they are true, yes, but believing have they been here is always the more main question.
Have they been in here? Absolutely. I do apologize for the kids in the background.
No worries.
Have they been here? They must have been. If look at our history of humanity, there is so many myths and legends of the cloud people or the interdimensional people. How do you explain it away in a way that actually makes sense? You look at the hieroglyphs and the things you see in the hieroglyphs, and I know getting all ancient aliens on here, but or the Native American things where they have giants that are 10 feet tall and have red hair and stuff like that. How do you discount all that stuff? Even things like modern day, where people in Iceland actually believe there's freaking elves in the hills, which, going back to the start of the podcast, holy cow, maybe I wasn't nuts.
Yeah. You said Iceland. My first thought was, but also Canada.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's mythology here, too, about a very similar, he was known as the Green Man, and it's basically the same as a leprechaun and has the same style of mischief attached to it. Doesn't wear like the little hat and stuff, but I don't think anything in nature would if it actually did exist, right? That's a man-made construct. If it
So he's not he's not a fighting leprechaun guy, green guy.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, how would the leprechaun get the hat? That's the main point. It's like, it's not going to make the hat.
He had family, lineage. Maybe they knew how to knit.
Did you not hear the beginning of the podcast? They just tell you to put the string and the buttons and whatever.
It was a tin can hat.
You heard string and buttons.
And got hat.
Well, they had to craft it. Come on. Little guys are listening to us. We're gonna fuck us up.
You're screwed.
Yeah, how far are you from the farm right now?
Me? 2 hours, actually.
It's not enough.
No?
No, they're coming.
Well, maybe.
See, we've had people in the past try to disprove like travel and this, like, oh, it's not possible. But I can't see why can't they be smarter than us? Why can't they figure out the way to get here from whatever distance that is?
Or perhaps they're not figuring anything out. Perhaps they're just stepping, like if you think about all those dimensions as though you were looking in like a multi-dimensional mirror. Like, you know how like you get into those funhouse mirrors and you see 18,000 of you and you're all stepping in one direction?
Yeah, it's way too many of me.
Well, each one steps in a different direction. Maybe they're just stepping into this direction.
I don't know. You never know.
You never know.
There's too many unsolved things out there, weird things that just, it's, I don't know, obvious. Something's out there.
Yeah, everything's out there.
Say?
Or maybe nothing's out there.
Or maybe
it's maybe it's all an illusion that, I don't know, we don't actually exist. Maybe this doesn't exist right now.
Maybe we're living in the Matrix. We're just in some kind of bubble somewhere.
Should have chose something better to do with myself.
Well, maybe you can.
You know what's really crazy? We as a society have got to the point where we can actually think about this stuff instead of having to go harvest the beets to feed our families at 7:00 at night through the winter as the king shoots us or hits us with sticks or whatever. So we're lucky.
The king was really hands-on there.
That's before he just like, you work for me now.
Well, I'm not going to say what I was about to say. Wow.
You can be open with us. It's okay.
So in certain cultures, let's go to old history. Why not? In certain cultures, there was a law where the king was allowed to take the virginity of any of his subjects before the husband was allowed to on the wedding night.
Damn it.
Yeah, talk about historical facts. But yeah.
That's why they always say it's good to be king. It makes sense.
It's good to be king. Who the hell says that?
Really?
Other
I
than
think
Really?
the Lion King.
Yeah.
Oh, I just can't wait to be king.
It's same difference.
Yeah. Why do you think he can't wait? Simba's over here at like 3 months old already thinking this stuff.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's just
So
nature.
primitive.
It's nature. It's what we do.
Yeah. I
Others.
guess.
Just
I
like
don't know.
that guy in Waco. What was his name?
Oh man, what was his name?
Oh my God. Why can't I
I
think
just
of
watched
it?
that whole thing on him. I don't know his name.
We all know his name. I just can't think of it. That guy.
Yeah, I don't know if you have Netflix, but it was a show called Waco, and it's a guy that.
It's not a show. It's a real life happening.
Well, it was a show about the real life thing that happened in Texas. Guy basically had a cult, and basically you can go there. And say you go there, husband and wife, and you don't get to fuck your wife anymore, but he can. Like what?
Yep. Sounds about right.
That's some hypnotist shit right there.
It is. Well, when you look technically at a cult, right? But if you look at any religion, technically they use hypnosis, or politics or anything. They use hypnosis in specific ways to direct people. For instance, it would have been the yes set again, right? And we'll use church as an example. In any church, it doesn't matter what religion it is. They get you to stand up. They get you to sit down. They get you to stand up. They get you to sit down. Every time you're doing that, it's just a suggestion to follow directions. And then they get you to sing a song with everybody. So you're following more crowd hypnosis. And you sit down again, and then they pass the plate around to get a donation. Well, everybody else is doing it, so you're going to give a donation too. And then if you go past that to the evangelicals and the whole, there's guys down in the far south that do like faith healing, and they'll have like 20,000 people in the theater, church, I guess, and they'll say, "You are healed," and they'll hit somebody, and they'll be healed. Now that person's not actually healed, but everybody else behind them falls down because they've got the power of the spirit in them. I'm sorry if you guys are religious, but this is how hypnosis works.
Hilarious.
But yeah.
But all that really is mass hypnosis.
Right.
It's the same as at a political rally, and we can take Hitler for example. He got people to do things one step at a time. Okay, the Jews have to wear this armband. just to identify them, not anything else. Okay, the Jews aren't allowed to own businesses. The Jews aren't allowed to do this, and the gayness isn't allowed, and all the rest of it. And eventually, people said yes so many times to what he was saying. And I'm not going to talk about modern politics and how it parallels, but it does. He got people to say yes so many times that eventually, when he said, okay, put them in the chamber, or his subjects said, okay, put them in the chamber, those people just followed directions and did it. And it's not because they were evil necessarily. It's just because they had literally been brainwashed to do this type of stuff.
Jesus.
Just goes right back to hypnotism.
Mm-hmm. Another example.
Unless you keep saying yes to you, and now I'm hypnotized. Shit.
Yeah. This whole conversation,
because-
he's just been like getting into us.
Yeah.
No, because I feel like you're more woke than that. You're not the guy that's going to be putting like the money in the basket. You're not the guy that's going to be kneeling and standing. You're not the guy that's even going to go to the church. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I just haven't
You
said
have more
yes enough to
critical
those
thinking.
people.
Well, yeah, maybe.
We should
Hypnotized
go
maybe
and take
by
money out of the
food and
basket and see what
brands.
happens.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, yeah. well, I can't use his name. My God.
Well,
If
like
they ask why, just be like, I don't know. I thought it was kind of like a give and take thing. He had more than me. Now I'm good.
yeah, you see someone put in 10, you take it out and put in 5. It's like I'm just breaking change.
You're breaking bread. I'm breaking your change. You're wacko.
So you're a firm believer on aliens, firm believer on the afterlife, right? You said, believer in ghosts and all that.
I believe that it exists for me, but it doesn't necessarily exist for everybody else. And that's their choice.
That's kind of like one of it. Well, Terry actually said. She said that if you basically do not believe and do not want to believe, then you won't see ghosts. If you're open to it, well, they're going to be there, whether good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's different.
Well, yeah, no shit.
Not like a profound saying, Steve.
No, but I'm saying like you have that option to like kind of shut out that potential thing that's always there anyway.
The real test of that is if you look at the ghost house, where people, real scientists that aren't searching for ghosts, that don't want ghosts to happen, never find ghosts. But the people that want ghosts to happen have ghosts all the time, right?
Yeah.
So go to a haunted house, and if you want it to happen, it'll happen. And it's the mindset more than anything. It's the hypnosis that we all fall into.
Or is it well, I guess meditation and hypnosis are very similar. They go hand in hand, like you were saying.
The only difference between meditation and hypnosis is hypnosis is guided to get you to do something. Generally, it's the manipulation to get you to do things. Whereas meditation, your mind just basically free floats.
Well, there's some guided meditations out there, like seeing the space seeing things between what we perceive as space and stuff like that. What do you think about that? You ever hear about that?
So a couple things about that. The word meditation is semantic in that description. Chances are it was named meditation because it doesn't have the connotation that hypnosis does. They can sell more meditation videos or whatever than hypnosis because hypnosis has a bad name, even though it's virtually the same thing. Does that make sense? So guided meditation is technically hypnosis. What do I think about seeing the spaces between spaces?
No, the things between what we perceive as space. So there's things that we as humans don't perceive, but it's actually there. And then there's some people who claim to are able to see that.
So we're talking auras and other things of that nature, and like the different frequencies.
Objects or what have you. But yeah.
Okay. I won't discount someone's beliefs. I do know how some psychics do it to both real and fake. There's a gentleman named Richard Webster who writes books on both sides of how to be a real psychic and how to be a fake psychic. You're talking to basically an old carny here. That's really what I consider myself. And the carnival mindset was to find what was known as marks. And generally marks had a lot of money and they were easily fooled. So you would mark them with a marker or with a chalk, and you would basically take their money from them because they were stupid.
Is that where that got that name? That's crazy.
Yes. Yeah, that it was marked with chalk. It's a wrestling term now, but the carnies is where it came from. And so is it real? I will not fully discount anything. chances are, yes, there are people out there that have a different visual spectrum. There's people out there currently that have a different hearing spectrum. They can hear things from far, far away, or they have a very different visual spectrum. It's possible that they do. And there could be a very scientific explanation for that. It's also possible. Well, think about it this way. There's people that are colorblind. So technically, people that aren't colorblind have an extra sensory perception compared to that person.
Yep. My brother's
That is
colorblind. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So you can see things that he can't. So why would I discount anybody seeing that stuff?
Right. I mean,
Right?
It just goes back to the beginning of the show before you were even on, where we were joking about that. You ever hear that thing where you hear two different things? Like some people hear, what was the words? Laurel and Yanni?
Laurel and Yanni, yeah. Yep.
Me and my husband are completely divided.
It's weird. I don't hear either of those things.
Really?
So, yeah, it doesn't sound like either of those things to me. It just sounds like basically, and that's it. It sounds like somebody talking through their nose. It's strange. So, I don't know.
I forget what I thought.
You thought one and I thought the other.
But then I saw it the other way too, based off of probably just reading it. So if I read it first and then start listening to it to try to listen for it, I can easily listen, find it basically.
Yeah, when I was listening, I was able to like easily just switch it back and forth in my head.
Right.
Because it's just you have to give yourself that pretense to think, okay, I want to hear Yanni, and boom, it hits. And all right, now I'll hear Laurel, and then it'll just hit back. And
I tried hard.
Unlike the color stuff, I only see it one way. Whatever the way that is, the sneaker and the dress and all that bullshit.
Oh, the color items.
Yeah, I only see what I see, I forget what it is. But
I think it's white and pink or something.
I don't know.
The blue
Or I saw like gray and
Yellow and blue.
Gray and tan.
Gray
and
it was blue and black or white and yellow for the dress.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, we're talking about a sneaker and a dress, so we're all confused.
Just adding colors.
You guys saw sneakers and dresses?
Well, I mean, but and then that's all just perception.
I see a sneaker. You see a dress? Like what? It's one hell of a picture.
Why are you wearing that sneaker? That's awesome. There's also a dresser, if you remember a long time ago. What color is this dresser?
I don't remember that.
I do. Too much internet.
I'm slightly upset though. Not upset, but like my views on everything is now different because now I'm just gonna think of everything as being hypnotized.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go to work and be like, "Fuck you! Don't hypnotize me, boss. I'm not doing what you just told me to do."
Well, I mean, it's completely clear if you think of it in the way of you've hypnotized yourself to be who you are right now.
Yeah, it just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Too much sense. Thanks a lot.
Well, your brain's basically a computer, right? So everything you've put into it, every experience you've had, it's programmed your brain.
I guess I said yes enough today, so
yeah. That's no. I heard that from a philosopher. He was basically saying that people will like to say that they have free will, but technically nothing is free will because everything's predetermined on what you've learned in the past, and that will predetermine your choices you make in the future. And it's just you keep on building all this knowledge, all these experiences, and then you go make a choice and you think, oh, that was my free will to make that choice. But it's like, no, all these other factors made you make that choice.
Would that be determinism?
Well, yeah, but a lot of determinism is kind of like, oh, it's meant to be that way because of some other power made it so. This is like there's no other power. It's just the way your mind has been built throughout years of gaining information and retaining information. And now that I have that information in my mind, I'm going to think this way. And I'm thinking this way literally only because of what happened to me in the past. So free will
change that.
But you're only changing that because of other information. Like
Do you
me
agree
telling
with this?
me telling you this right now is now information that you might use. Oh, is this free will or is just my brain telling me that? But now because I told you this, now it's also it's
Nick's will.
Yeah, now like it's also just compounded into your mind that you will always every choice you made is predetermined based off of life experiences.
I'll take that a step further. So this is going to sound so ridiculous, and I've never actually said it to somebody else in the world except for Steve.
Oh, I forget. So keep going.
So it's brand new.
So wait, no, this is kind of creepy.
Brand new to everyone.
Yeah. My husband doesn't have a great memory. Okay, so me and my husband are how many years apart? 16? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're 16 years apart, but I used to have this like mantra that I'd be like, I'm going to marry, when I was 16 or around 15 or 16, I had this little mantra. I was like, I'm going to marry a witty, good looking, well-dressed man. And then years later, I added wealthy. So we're still not there yet, but
Also missing most of the
at
other
about
stuff.
16, Stephen was being born. So I feel like maybe that's right.
She feels she invented me. However, you missed most of those marks.
Witty, good looking, well-dressed.
Yep.
Yeah.
What else you got?
I don't know.
And
You're well-dressed,
all you got
witty,
was,
and
I'm a
good-looking
guy.
enough for
Yeah,
me.
I don't see any checks in any of those boxes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Self-hypnosis maybe then.
Or
You want to take
eye
that a step
hypnosis.
further?
I do.
So I don't know if you guys remember 1996, but my wife was born in 1990. And in 1996, the hottest superstar on the planet was Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh boy.
And
Fuck yeah.
you guys have seen some pictures of me, right?
I saw your head and your torso.
Now, at 6 years old, what decision did she make about a protective man in her life that caused her to marry me? Because I guarantee it was there at 6 years old.
So you're going to bald with the goatee.
Yep. I'm not muscular anymore, but when we first got together, I was jacked. So
Did you crush any beers and like break glass while you're walking into places?
I was never a beer drinker. I was always a whiskey drinker. So yeah, it was bad, but whatever.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
that's interesting.
But
so
if you look at, I don't know, I'm 35 years old. So my generation grew up with, I don't know how you guys are, but my generation grew up with the idea that we could accomplish anything, which if you look at society now was a complete and utter fucking lie. We have more opportunity now than we did 10 years ago, but it was a long road to get here. And we were also taught that what's the number one thing you need to do as soon as you get out of college or out of high school? You better go to college or you won't have a future.
Right.
And about 70% of those university courses that we used to do are freaking useless now.
Right.
And there's been new things coming up. Can you imagine if you went to school to become a newspaper printer back in like 1996? You won't have a job now.
Right.
So everything we were taught as kids in regards to the future wasn't technically right. And we were hypnotized to believe it, which is why society is going to shit right now with my generation specifically. There's a reason that millennials are considered a horrible generation. And it's not because we're useless. It's because we were set up for failure by the mass hypnosis that happened during the generation before us.
It's kind of like The Wall when you see all those people going into the meat grinder. They're all
Yep.
like, I don't know if you ever saw that, but it's a thing. You should see it.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's exactly that. Yeah. We were set up for failure. So we're going to churn away until the next generation, which hopefully the millennials have actually fixed the next generation, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
That doesn't seem like it. I'm only 32 in September, and I did not go to college because I hate school.
No, he's a tradesman. He works with his hands.
But you were told to.
I was
You're
told to nonstop. My parents were super upset for the longest time. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I make more money than majority of people come out of college. I do very well for myself in the trades. And the fact that they're taking trades out of schools upsets me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And only means I'm going to make more money in the future too, because more people aren't going to know what the fuck to do.
It's not even that they're not going to know what to do. Half this shit's being automated. Right now, everybody's shut down. You know what's happening to the school system right now?
We do.
Why would school systems hire teachers now when they have their lessons already on video? And from grade 1 through 6, nothing changes year to year. Literally nothing. So why not just take those videos, teach those kids, have 50% less staff in the classrooms, and teach twice as many kids?
It's possible.
Or hire, right? It's automation. Or you look at restaurants right now. In California, there's a robot right now that makes cheeseburgers. How long before McDonald's buys 1 million of those freaking robots and there's no jobs for well, high school kids and adults now, because let's face it, that's half the working population works at a fast food restaurant these days. So, yeah.
Everything's becoming automated. You got even your teller at those fast food places, right? Don't you like just type in shit sometimes?
And so basically people need to pivot to becoming some type of mechanical engineer to work in those machines. Otherwise, you got nothing you can do.
Yeah, literally. Engineer or a welder or something tactile that makes sense. But then you look at the other countries, and this is not xenophobic, but if there's people willing to work in China for $1, why the hell would a company here hire somebody from here? You know what I mean?
Right.
We look at the car companies leaving our area, specifically for Canada, it was Ottawa. And there's people being paid $120 an hour when they could have moved that factory to China, and they did, and they're paying $4 an hour with the same output. I don't.
We were warned about this.
Yep.
In the late 80s, early 90s, but we didn't listen.
Yep. Well, it as society progresses, we're all going to become all more automated and more automated, and we have a choice right now that we could make. We could either support the billionaires that are basically fucking everything up, or we can choose to have Louis the 13th style. I don't know if you guys know the history, but France basically cooked their king and ate him. So maybe it's time to rise up as a people.
Well, and that's what I was just saying. I said I'm a vegetarian. I don't think that would be me, but
and she can't even cut anything, so she can't even help out.
Also, can't use a butter knife. But I was just saying this. I literally just had this conversation, not only on Facebook, but with my father-in-law and my husband. Maybe I didn't discuss it with you, but like, how close to like civil war are we? Like, I know you live in Canada, but like, can't you see the divide already happening?
As a Canadian, and I will preface this with, I have nothing against the United States. From the 1930s to 1990, you were the country to be. But at about 1990, your politics really started going to shit.
Yeah.
It really, really bad. And both sides, not just one or the other, but both. There are good qualities on both sides, but what's happening right now is, from my view, the Republicans are not living their mantra, which, if you look at the Bible Belt, they're voting Republican for the sake of voting Republican, when it would serve what their actual beliefs are. If they believe in the word of God and their dogma, if they actually believe in it, they'd be following the Democratic socialists, believe it or not, because they'd be giving more and they'd be looking after their neighbors, which is basically what the Bible is about. Once you get to the Jesus portion, which Jesus did say, I am the way, I am the law, and everything before me is gone. So therefore the Old Testament shouldn't be followed at all. It should only be what Jesus said, literally, which is love everyone, help other people. So the problem is the Democrats are basically trying to do that by redistributing wealth, which is what's actually needed. And the Republicans refuse to do it, even though that's what their dogma says that they need to do. So if they could meet in the middle, Canada's pretty lucky. We have a third party which gets voted in quite often. Then we have the really far left nut jobs, and we have the really far right nut jobs. But that middle party keeps us pretty grounded as far as human rights and stuff like that. Whereas you guys, the Republicans right now, I apologize if you guys are Republicans, but what's happening in your political sphere is absolutely fucking insane on the Republican side, as far as representation. And the Democrats are no better when it comes to the time when they actually have power. So there needs to be a middle ground. And I don't think that you guys are going to find it without actually having a civil war.
Right.
Because, people need rights. The biggest problem that I have is when it comes to healthcare. You look at the U.S. and you guys should have the best healthcare in the world, but you pay over 100 times more than most other countries, just simply because pharmaceuticals are allowed to do what they're allowed to do.
Right. Big pharma is a big thing.
Well, the simple reason is corruption.
Yeah.
It's money and greed, which ruins everything in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Regardless of where you are.
And it's on both sides.
Yeah, which is what Jesse's saying. It basically started in the 90s. And
right.
You can see that literally starting with, you could see a complete change in the demographic of politics literally once like Bill Clinton takes office.
Well, you can see when he comes from basically nothing to that family being multi millionaires. Okay, where'd the money come from?
Yeah.
Your salary is only X. Where'd the rest come from? What do you think? All kickbacks.
Yeah, we need to go back to the time of Jimmy Carter, and he's still building
he's still building houses
for
and
humanitarians. Yeah.
The honest truth is, I think that both of our countries. Why did America fight in the war against Britain? What was the reason? What was the War of Independence about?
Taxes.
Fucking taxes. Came down to money.
It came down to money.
3% taxes, mind you.
Yeah. And what were you trying to get rid of other than taxes?
Colonial rule.
Colonial rule. You're trying to get rid of the king. So why
Way to be an American,
are
Nick.
we instituting? Why are both of our countries now instituting kingships? Because you can't tell me that. Okay, the Bushes, the Kennedys, those are fucking kingships that take turns. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Or monarchies that take turns. The next one that's going to come up, you can't tell me fucking Eric Trump or Ivanka is not going to run in 15 years.
Right.
You can't tell me. And you can't tell me they're not going to win. And you can't tell me that Chelsea Clinton's not going to run in about 10. And then one of the Obamas. So politics in general, what I think is that there should be a 4-generation rule that your family's not allowed to get back into politics for 4 generations. So if you were elected anything, the mayor of Shittsville, New Jersey. Sorry if there's a Shittsville. There's a Stittsville, isn't there?
It's most
anyway,
of it, but
That is
keep
awesome.
going.
I want to live there.
But if you were elected mayor, okay, you're allowed to be elected mayor. But if you want to move up in the political spectrum, you can move as far as you want. If you want to become president, you can go ahead. But your children for 4 generations cannot do the same thing.
Right.
And that would absolutely completely get rid of any monarchy style stuff. There should be no reason for career politicians at all. If somebody came out of high school and they're a politician ever since they were out of high school, what have they given the world?
Besides zero?
Nothing.
Besides zero. No, yeah. And it's not only that here. It's just so much more. It's just so, everybody's hiding behind a computer. Everybody has a voice. Everybody has, and it's like brother against brother. Like people just, it's vicious.
Well, there's systemic racism and just the different classes and the fact that everybody's afraid of each other, right? That's a huge one.
Right.
Yeah.
And everybody has their own.
Basically a lot of tribalism at this point. Like, I like myself because I vote this way, but I don't like you because you vote that way, even though there's a possibility that there are some topics that we might meet on and agree on. But my tribe is my home. I care about that more than I care about you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy. It's a crazy society that we're living in right now. But yeah, that was just my topic of the day today.
I didn't mean to go on a rant. I apologize if I went off. It's just
No, you're 100% right.
I see some crazy shit going on in the world, and the fact is both of our countries used to be held up to a high esteem in the world. Both of our countries, Canada and the US, were basically the 2 top countries in the world when it came to Canada was like healthcare and being nice and helping rebuild after war and all that stuff. And the US was, well, we're in control. We're going to make sure nobody kills each other to a horrible extent. And we're going to take care of everybody as much as we can. And that's gone. It does not exist anymore, which is a scary, scary thing. Now I wouldn't be surprised to see you guys go to war with Saudi Arabia because of what they did with the drop in oil prices, where they dropped all that oil, and that's part of the reason why the oil prices went down. Or China, because, well, your leader says China all the time. When we can't have a civil discussion and we can't act like adults at the highest level
Right.
in the country, then that becomes a problem. And don't get me wrong, it's on both sides too. The people who are reporting it, yeah, they are reporting some bad stuff, but if it wasn't there to report, it'd be non-existent, if that makes sense. And I think that Carter specifically didn't have a lot of bad stuff to report. There was no big scandals and stuff like that. But after that, it really started getting more and more scandalous with every president, realistically. It really did.
Yeah, I mean, I would attribute some of the luck that Carter got due to news media's not meant to be sensationalism. They're meant to be like lose money. Like every network had a news station. That news station they knew was going to run in the red. They didn't care it was running in red. But almost like after them, the news stations realized that like, oh shit, we could like make news and have that actually work to sell ads for us and actually have news be profitable.
Oh yeah, reality news became a big
Yeah,
thing.
the 24-hour news cycle
Right.
literally started almost soon after Carter.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there could have been bad shit with Carter, but we didn't know because the companies back then, the news was something you glossed over. It wasn't something that like at this point the news is appointment television. Everyone sits down at whatever, it's like 6, 7 o'clock wherever you live, and just like, oh, the news is on, I gotta watch it. It's like an appointment television, like Game of Thrones was. It's like we need to see what our favorite news anchor is saying, as if they're a celebrity, as if their voice matters, because it really doesn't. Because all they're doing is just reading a cue card. Anyone could be sitting up there. What matters is what's written, not what they're not the person.
And everybody's owned by somebody else, and it's really just their agenda, not the newscasters. Newscasters just like, you know.
Well, yeah. Now, how many
voice.
companies own news stations at this point, and you won't hear anything bad about them anymore because they own that company.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
It's just like Big Pharma, right? You don't actually know who owns anything or anything. No.
It's only 5 families in the world that own anything. I don't remember who they are, but
I wasn't born in one of them.
Yeah.
can we get into that?
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Yeah. So a much lighter random rant I'll go with. Would you rather be able to fly or swim, like breathe underwater?
Fly.
Why?
I like that.
Straight up for the fact of reason. The reason is freedom above all else. And I still have dreams where I fly, it would be the realization
without mushrooms or.
No, yeah, I have flying dreams almost every week where I'm literally flying over the land and landing and talking to people, and it's weird.
Are you lucid in them, or are you just flying?
Oh yeah, I'm fully aware of what's going on.
Oh yeah, okay, awesome. Then I like that. I'm the same way.
Yeah, and I land and I talk to whoever's there and move on. But yeah, it would be a realization of something my subconscious wants to do anyway.
You probably shouldn't do any like acid or anything because you probably want to fly so bad you might just like jump off a building.
It's not how acid really works.
I've thought about that stuff, and it would be fantastic. I've thought about going down south and talking to people and doing ayahuasca and stuff, but I don't know if I could do it after the shrooms. I really don't. After having such a experience with them, I don't know if I'd be able to handle that shit, seeing what some people consider God and shit. So yeah.
Well, Jesse, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
For my hypnosis stage show, jesselewishypnosis.com, and I'm doing my own podcast. I don't know if you guys saw that, but the Jesse Lewis show runs all the time. Basically, I'm doing like 5 a day right now. So, and they're all 20 minutes long with weird, interesting people that we don't normally talk about the paranormal stuff, but motivation, some celebrities, all that stuff. And that's on Facebook.
That's awesome. And as you all know, you can find us at the Beer Latte Show on Facebook, Instagram, our website, all that, or Beer Latte on Twitter. We'll see you guys next week.
This drip all on my body, soaking wet the sunny. Looking like a